It's time to sit down and relax for the good, the bad, and the sequel Q&A with your host, Doug.
Hey there. So last week we discussed the pretty rad action movie Escape Plan 3, The Extractors. You had Devon Sawa versus Stallone. And Devon Sawa's a pretty awesome bad guy. He was Casper when he was younger, but man, he really kicked ass in that movie. So this week, we're interviewing somebody from that movie. She played the receptionist during an amazing fight scene early on with Shen Lo, and her name is Heidi Lewandowski. Heidi has some great stories coming from a sports-oriented family, but her love for acting could not be stopped. She's been in a few features recently, My Blind Brother, Escape Plan 3. She's just getting started. Lots of fun behind-the-scenes stories, and she was so great during the interview. In Jersey, we were getting some pretty nasty thunderstorms, and it shut my power off. And she was so patient. She waited for everything to come back on. So, yeah, she's a lot of fun. So let's start the interview. Hey, how are you?
Good. I'm great. How are you?
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, yeah, of course. Sorry about that. I think in my settings, it had the audio and video disconnected. So
Oh, it's okay.
it took me a second. Yeah.
Sweet. How's your day going?
Good. I like to run. So I just did 4.6 miles, but probably at the worst time of the day. It was about 80 degrees outside.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's not too bad. Where are you at right now?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Oh, cool. 80 is nice. I'm in Jersey, and it's like we're getting storms right now, but it felt like over 100.
Really?
Yeah.
A lot of humidity.
Oh, it's the worst.
Yeah. I'm from Cleveland, so
okay.
I know humidity, but yeah, it's definitely not like that here. It's beautiful. So
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's why everybody goes there, and that's why movies are made there.
Right, exactly. You can do it all year round here.
Yeah. So you grew up in Cleveland. So
Yes.
when growing up was the first time that you had any inkling that, you know what, I want to try being an actor?
Probably very young. My mom used to do plays, and so I would go with her, and I kind of just got the bug early.
Yeah.
But ironically enough, I did some plays when I was young, but I come from really like a sports oriented family.
Oh, really?
So,
okay.
yeah. So my brothers, my sister, my dad, like everyone was really into sports. My brothers were like state and national champions in like football, basketball. Yeah. So when I was younger, my mom would make me watch Pistol Pete tapes and like 5 a.m. go to the gym and play basketball. Like, Mom, I'm in second grade, but it was, so that's where I think that kind of discipline came from, and kind of the artsy side lost it a little bit, but then it was always there, the itch.
Yeah. And you're still running, so that's good.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I'm still running. I credit my great legs to running and some discipline,
Yeah.
So.
So did you do any theater in like high school, or when did that start?
Oh, I did theater when I was younger, before high school. So like elementary school. And then when I got to high school, it became sports.
Oh, okay.
Track, cross country. So that's when that really came into play, and acting went on the back burner.
Burner.
Right.
So how long after high school did it get pushed up to the front burner?
Not long after. No, not long after at all. Shortly after high school, I came out to LA.
Oh, okay.
And I came out to LA, and I wanted to see what it was. And I studied at the Beverly Hills Playhouse.
Oh, awesome.
And with Leslie Kahn. And they were great places to get me started. And then some things happened at home, and I moved back. My mom became ill, and she ended up passing away.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
So that kind of took me out of the acting world for a little bit. And I stayed in Cleveland, and I was lost for a little bit. And my dad would not make fun of me. He was supportive, but he would say, they're like, so what is your daughter doing? And he was like, oh, she's a stay-at-home daughter, And it actually became like a little running joke. And I just did like a couple YouTube videos on like what it's like being a stay-at-home daughter as a joke. And sometimes people were like, I wasn't serious. I was just making fun of myself, but people were kind of mean. And it was hilarious because I was like, yeah, it's so hard. I watch Netflix all day. I cook and it's like TV dinners and things like that. So I just was like, why not make fun of yourself, and it kind of worked for a little bit, but then other acting gigs started coming in, so I kind of had to stop that. But yeah, it was definitely a fun thing. Maybe I'll bring it back up one day.
No, that's awesome. It's funny, no matter what you put out there, even if you're being silly, there's some people out there that can't take a joke and they think it's real.
Yeah, no. I mean, I was called like a spoiled little word, and like, yeah, it was just a lot. I was like, whoa, it's a joke, guys. It's a joke, trust me, this is not what I want to be doing, It's where I fell into at the moment.
So what were some of those first acting jobs you had after that?
Commercial work is kind of how it started off. A lot of different commercials from like Nestle Toll House with the cookies and things like that. And, Dick's Sporting Goods, things. So it became commercial work, print work, and then it just short films, and they just slowly started. They just start to pick up, and I still need more of it to pick up and get busy. But right now it's been pretty good. And what helped was being in Ohio. There's a tax credit, so a lot of films were coming to shoot in Ohio. So that was an advantage that I could say, I'm a local hire. If you don't have to pay someone from LA to fly them out. I can be I can be here. I'm LA talent, but I can live. I can have a place to live in Ohio when you shoot.
That's awesome.
So that was a huge advantage that I had over some LA actors. So,
well, that's really good that you were able to do that. And they were shooting a bunch of movies there.
Yeah, it was nice. I was like, wow, I get to stay home and get paid. Like, this is great.
Stay-at-home daughter and
stay-at-home daughter. Yeah, right. And work. What? So, yeah.
So were any of those movies was that My Blind Brother? Was that filmed in Ohio?
Yeah. That was actually filmed in Ohio. That was filmed. I'm trying to remember. It was parts of it were in Cleveland, but it was just outside of Cleveland. Why I'm thinking, because we have the lake there, so it was able to be like the ocean or whatever they needed it to be in the movie. But yeah, that was actually filmed in Ohio. So Adam Scott and Nick Kroll and Jenny Slade and Zoe Kazan, like all these great actors, comedic actors. It was like totally. I did an audition tape for that and sent it in, and there I ended up there. So it's pretty great.
That like they gave you the script and you just
they'll give you the scene and you audition and you'll put it on tape, just almost like what we're doing now. You're just like in your house or wherever you need to be, and you send it in, and then the director, producers, they watch it, they like you, they bring you in, and you meet them and you audition for them in person. But yeah, so you get the scene, and I remember shooting that day. It was really hot, like humid. Yeah. So so when you do these scenes with like big named actors or whatever, sometimes it gets a little, you're like, oh, okay, well, let me make sure I'm on point for their take, and so you give them your best, even when the camera's not on you. The first, it starts off where the camera's just on them, a couple cameras on them. You do the take, and then they flip it, and it's your turn. This is your turn, time to shine. And I was a little nervous because Adam Scott had like left, and I was like, oh no, am I gonna have to is he gonna do the scene with me? Like, was I bad? I was like, oh no, like I just lost him. And then they were like, oh no, he's just grabbing something, he'll be right back. I was like, oh thank God. It's like one of my first experiences with like a a celebrity, you know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, he came back and did the scene with me, and he was great. He was super nice. He was like, "You were great work. Like, I like you a lot." I was like, "Awesome. Thank you so much." Like, where I was like, "Thank you for doing the scene with me." Like, you know, make sure I
Thanks
didn't
for coming
screw
back.
up really bad. Yeah, right. Exactly. Because he just like walked off. I was like, "Oh no, I did something wrong. What did I do wrong?" But it was fine. So, you know,
no, that was a great movie. And comedies like that, they don't get like the big release,
right?
Because it has that drama feel to it. And even your scene, if that was like a real life situation for you, that would have been so awkward hearing that story for the first time, like how he went blind and like thanking his brother.
Yeah. It's just like, it's literally the most awkward thing, but it was a lot of fun. And that premiered at South by Southwest. So it was cool. I got to go there, and
I saw those pictures. That's so awesome.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun. So that was pretty cool.
Did you know the whole time, like afterwards, like, hey, we're going to South by Southwest and you're coming too?
No, not at all. I don't even know with like independent films if they know where they're going.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of times it could be TIFF, you know, Toronto International Film Festival, or anywhere, Sundance, Cannes, like it could end up anywhere. So their goal is to just let it end up where the best place it can go, you know, and the best fit for it. And I think South by was great audience for that film. But yeah, you don't know if you're going. Like you'll get the call and be like, "Hey, can you make it?" I'm like, "Yes, yes, totally. I will be there." You know, so you know, it's like, "Thank you. It's a great experience." Like, why wouldn't I? So yeah, that was always so much fun in Austin, and everyone was super nice and super great and always funny. So I was like, "This is a fun experience." You know?
Yeah, those guys seem like they're always on. They're so funny.
Yeah, they are. They're always on. And then, but then you see their moments where they're just like, you know, with their family or whatever, and they're a little bit more chill. So yeah.
They have to behave. It's like when you're like out with your friends and then your parents are around, you're like not as
right. It just goes down like just a little bit, you know, just a couple of notches or whatever. So, yeah.
No, that's great. Yeah, when I was looking through your pictures after you said you were gonna chat, I was like, wow, that's so cool that she was like with all of them. That's so awesome.
Oh yeah. It was super cool. The writer director, Sophie Goodhart, she's British, and ironically, she was staying at like a loft or something when she was filming, because you know, I think it filmed maybe in like 20 some days. Like these films aren't long, you know. I mean, the shoot dates they don't take that long.
So you're talking about her being right down the street from you.
Yeah. She was right down the street, and she was about 8 months pregnant during filming.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was interesting. A lot of that movie took place on a boat. So she needed to be on a boat.
Yeah.
So, you know, she's fully pregnant with the camera crew in the water. It was pretty awesome though. I would see her walking around like, "Oh, that's my director." So yeah, female empowerment for sure.
So I do research of the movie. It's pretty cool. That was a short from like 2003 with Tony Hale.
Yeah, so she wrote and directed the short, and I think it was in Cannes, and it won like maybe an audience, or I can't remember exactly what it was, and then it became the feature. They liked it so much, they're like, "Right, can you write this into a feature?"
No, it's awesome.
So she obviously expanded the script greatly. But the short, I saw it, it's very dark.
Oh yeah?
It's not even comedic at all. So it's like, it's totally like different. I was like, "Oh, this is interesting," you know.
I'll have to find it somewhere. It seems like Tony Hale can do that.
Yeah, definitely. So I was like, "Oh, this is an interesting twist. I didn't think that it was going to be like this, but it was great."
That's awesome. So, yeah. And then, so I watched most of Escape Plan 3.
Okay, right.
And your scene was so intense.
Oh my gosh. So let me tell you how this whole thing starts. So I got this audition. I was in Florida, and I told my agent, I was like, I'm not going to be able to audition for it. I'm in Florida. Like I was on vacation. And they're like, oh, that's fine. And then I come back from vacation and I get an email and they're like, you're going to have to go straight to the callbacks with the director and the producer. They want you to audition for this. And I was like, okay. It was in Mansfield, Ohio is where it's shot because they used the reformatory there where they shot the Shawshank Redemption, you know? So
that's awesome.
So that the prison scenes are there in Mansfield. And so it was interesting. So I was like, oh, okay. Like, I'm not really sure why, but I went in. It was kind of like one of those things where the audition is like, it seemed like surreal. I'm in there. The director gets a phone call during my audition. Like, you know, it's like, I was like, this is like a movie scene in itself right here, you know? So I'm in the callback, straight to callbacks. And he gets a phone call. He takes the call. I'm just like, I just keep going because obviously, like, you don't stop. He's not the only person in the room, but he is the director. It's John Hirschfeld. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep going. The producers are here. Casting director, keep going. So I finished the scene. And then he's like, oh, I loved it. I'm like, oh, I did. I don't even know if he saw it. You know, he's on a call. Yeah. So I was like, okay, great. He was like, can you improv? I was like, yeah. He was like, well, let's improv. I was like, let's do it. So he has one of the readers just actually physically walk up. He's like, you're going to do everything possible not to let this man in. Right. So he like walks up, the guy like grabs me, like, you know, we were like tugging. And he's like, great. I loved it. Like, really great. You're really great. I was like, okay, you know, but you hear that in rooms. So you're like, that means nothing, you know, I'm not going to get the part, you know, like you leave out crying. It's like a whole dramatic experience. So I was like, oh, okay, thank you. And I like leave out, and the casting director, she tells me, she was like, no, you're really great. And I was like, okay, thank you, you know. And I get a call, I think it was like that night or like the next morning, which you usually don't get calls back that quickly. And they're like, you got the part. And I was like, oh, awesome, thank you. And it's going to shoot at like 4 a.m. I was like, okay, great. So we shot that scene, and they had a whole stunt crew, because it's a full-on fight scene, intense scene with Max Zhang, and it was just like, wow, this is another level of a fight scene. Max was incredible, like incredible. He plays Shenlo, so he didn't even need, like, there's no like rehearsal. He's just like, I'm gonna do this, that. I'm gonna flip the umbrella, and that's it, you know. And I was like, how do you even, you know? He just knew. And the other stunt actors were great. They were like, oh, okay, should we run it? They're like, he's like, no, I got it, you know. And so they're like, well, let's just shoot it. And you know, they had breakaway like candy glass. So with the table and the wall, and the one wall, they were moving it. They're so delicate, just shattered. Yeah. So it was like, well, we only have one take with that. Like, you have to get it right. So man has to go through. I mean, it was just a crazy day. And mind you, this is at like 4 a.m. that they're shooting this. So it was really great. And I was just like, wow. It's just the skill set that they had was amazing.
Was it just one take that they were able to do a lot of that?
Oh, so they would split it. Most of it, actually, I'm trying to think. I mean, I think there were a total of 3 takes, but there was just one take through the glass window the guy goes through. But it wasn't long at all. Like, because when you have breakaway glass, you have to re-clear it. And so they don't have that many takes. And the woman who goes through the glass table, I think she actually cut her leg on the second take. Oh, wow. So I don't think there was a third one now that I'm thinking back to it.
Yeah, because usually scenes like that, especially you're in the back of the shot. And I wanted to ask you, I'm like, it seems so seamless. So that's why I was asking how many takes it was. You were like in the same position a lot of times in movies, action movies. You'll look the person standing and then sitting.
Is gone. Yeah,
They're gone.
Or,
yeah.
or they're gone. They're gone. You know. So yeah, I think now that I think about it, I think there were only 2 takes. The way they shot it, and it was interesting because my scene's not like my role wasn't a huge role, but there was he was going to try to do this Max, the character Shin, was trying to do this weird flip with an umbrella and get the key card from the man on the ground. So if you watch it, they kind of have a shot where there's a man on the ground and it kind of focuses on his like key card.
Oh, okay.
But for some reason they couldn't flip it up. It just wasn't working. They were trying to have tape and it comes off, and it would have looked great, but it was very complicated. So I looked down and noticed that I had the key card on my jacket. So I said to the director, I'm kind of bold and why not? Right?
Yeah.
I was like, why don't you just have him come take it off my jacket? And then he was like, I think that's a great idea. Let's have that. I was like, as many shots as I can get myself into, I'm going to do it, So they were like, okay. And then Max was like, I'm just going to say surprise then at that point. Like, so it was just like a whole little sequence that I wasn't even supposed to be in, So I was like, why not? Sometimes you got to be a little bold.
You have to.
I was just going to play like, I'm just from Ohio. I don't know any better. If it was wrong, like act like I knew nothing. But
I thought something was going to happen to you when he approached the desk. I'm like, oh no, is something going to happen?
Right. It's like you would think that he was going to attack me, but that was like that was the whole added section. It wasn't even supposed to be it wasn't in the script. So yeah. So you can't kill me off. I have to be the one, have to survive.
Well, there's going to be a 4th one, I'm sure.
Oh, I don't know. I heard, but I don't know if this is true, but I heard that was the final way to like tie up all the loose ends of it. But you never know, with these movies, if it brings in enough money.
Oh yeah.
And
Stallone loves the guy. When you look on his IMDb, he like doesn't stop working.
No.
Even now, he has like 8 or 9 things like with
in production.
I know.
In development. Yeah.
How was interacting with him on set? Was he there for that?
Oh, he was not there for that scene. He came in late. So I just saw him in passing. Like I'm leaving out like midday. They shot the film in like 17 days.
Jeez. Yeah, I guess that's what they have to do nowadays in order to save money.
Yeah. And so I just saw him in passing, just like, hey, like just nice guy, but it wasn't like I didn't get to work with him individually on set. But yeah, it's more just in and out. How quickly they shoot these films are insane. Like I think about them, like they're long days though. The time is, you're there. I mean, over 12 hours. And crew, I don't know. I don't even know when they like sleep.
Yeah.
To be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially, I've been interviewing a lot of actors that did a lot of work in like the 80s and 90s. And a lot of times when they had like a principal role and they were on set for a while, it's usually like a lot of times they're talking about like 2 months. But I don't think, maybe some movies nowadays have that kind of budget, but it's very rare. But
those are big studio films now. A lot of indie or smaller studios, they don't have the money, or their money is coming from overseas, so they don't have maybe access to it right away. So they have to get this shot in a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
All the films I've worked on, I did Galveston, which shot in not Galveston, Texas, but it shot in Savannah, Georgia. It was supposed to take place. It takes place in Galveston, Texas. But I think that was like 27 days. And I was there a week. But they go so fast. That was with Elle Fanning and Ben Foster. And I worked with them, and they were incredible. And French director Melanie Laurent. who is from Inglourious Bastards, who's an actor in that movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, with in the Quentin Tarantino film. But yeah, it's turned director. So it was pretty cool to work with her as well. But yeah, just everything. And you'll be on set and they will cut full scenes just for time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe in the 80s and 90s, there's a lot more money floating around.
Or maybe like the unions, maybe the way actors are getting paid weren't as much, the way like the agreements were.
Maybe. I mean, now with SAG-AFTRA, like they're very strict,
Yeah.
So you go over, we're getting more. You miss a meal, you're late on a meal, like you're paying out. So a lot of these films are having to pay actors so much extra just when they're running behind schedule.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where some of the money is going. Yeah. So it's interesting.
Yeah. So one thing I want to mention, like, it's pretty funny because I just interviewed William Sadler, who he plays Death in Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
He's in a bunch of stuff, but it's funny that you mentioned, Mansfield because he was in Shawshank.
Yeah.
And your story that you mentioned. So he had like a similar story. You raising your hand as like, you're the role receptionist and hey, you know what? I have a key card. And then it actually worked. He kind of had a similar story and it took off his career. He auditioned for the first episode of Tales from the Crypt. He was reading for like a cop role. So his role was really just reading the Miranda rights. So when he's flipping through the script, he's like, hey, who's playing? I forget the guy's name, but he's like, who's playing Bob Smith? And they're like, yeah, it's the first episode. They want like a Kurt Russell type, John Malkovich, somebody big. So he's like, okay. So he did his scene on tape. And then he was leaving the Fox lot. And the lady like yelled out the window and was like, hey, Bill, come in. And then she's like, oh, I'll let you audition for it. And it worked out.
Oh, wow.
And just from that, he worked with Joel Silver, was one of the producers. So that got him Die Hard 2 the next year without an audition. And then Robert Zemeckis was a producer. And then Frank Dearborn, who directed Shawshank and The Mist and Green Mile.
Man, yeah. I mean, you have to be a little bold, That's what I learned. If you don't, someone else is going to do it.
Oh, definitely.
Why not you? And look, at the end of the day, all they can say is, no, okay, no problem. That was a dumb idea. I won't say it again to you, but most of the time, like directors they're in a crunch. They want the film to work too.
Oh, yeah.
They want, or whatever, casting directors, their job is to find the right actor. They don't want to find the not the right actor, they don't want to be like, no, it's not you. They want it to be you. Like their goal is like, please let it be you so we can end this grueling process.
Yeah.
So that's like the misnomer that people think like casting directors don't want it to be you. No, they want you to be good. Trust me. They don't, that's not what they want. And then, with directors, you just feel it out. And John was super nice and friendly. And so I felt like I could say that. Or I could put that out there, like, how about? And then he was like, yeah, how about? It became his idea. So like, I was like, that works,
Yeah.
Whoever's idea you want it to be, it can be, as long as my face is in it. So,
No, that's true. Whoa, wow. That was loud.
Yeah, that was really loud.
That was really loud. So thanks again for taking the time. 2 questions before I let you go. So since this is a sequel podcast, is there any like favorite sequels you've had over the years that you like to watch?
Oh man, there's so many. I'm such a girly girl. Like I love Legally Blonde and probably part 2, which is like red. What is it? Like red, white, and something. I forget what the yeah. So maybe that one, but still the first one's probably the best. I feel like for sequels, I don't know a movie that the first wasn't the greatest.
Yeah, there's like a few, like Empire Strikes Back. If you're,
I was gonna say, or Godfather 2. There's certain ones where people are like, I'd argue that this one, but yeah, I don't know what would be my favorite sequel. But like I said,
well, that's a good answer.
I'm such a little girly girl.
And then here's like a deep thinker question for you. So if you could play the lead in like a big budget film, is there like a particular genre that is like in your wheelhouse that you'd love to do?
Oh man. So I'm a lot of my roles that I've played have been like, just smaller, getting your feet wet. But I like to play like really dark roles, a little bit twisted. Wow. Maybe I shouldn't have said that with that thunder.
I know.
But yeah, just a little bit of that has an edge to them. So something like that. And then, or something totally different, like maybe if there was a movie, like if The Departed came out and if it didn't exist, and putting a female in that. Because I think Vera Farmiga was the only female character.
Yeah.
But like I would love to twist it and take the male role, like Leonardo's or something, an interesting twist. I like that. I like taking maybe that roles that maybe were meant for someone of a different sex or color or race or whatever, and putting myself in that. So
that's a great answer. That's the first time I've been thinking of a good question to ask, like people that are up and coming and that have been like early on in their career. So that worked. I really like that question. Awesome. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, of course. Thank you for the question.
Yeah. And thanks so much for the time. I wish you all the success. Keep being bold and that's risks. Awesome. Yeah. That's all you can do. Like you said, if you didn't mention that, you would have thought about it in the car ride home and be like, I should have said this. I should have said that.
Right. Well, thank you for interviewing me. Podcasts are blowing up. I have some stuff that I'm working on with podcasts with some influencers right now, pretty big social media influencers.
I just love movies. So it's like a project I started in the beginning. I'm like, is anybody going to want to talk to me? And then I've been talking to a lot of people. So it's going really well. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for reaching out, and good luck with everything. And once I really blow up, I'll come back and hopefully have some great stories for you.
Remember me.
Of course. Thank you, Douglas.
Heidi was so great. I can't wait to chat with her again when she's famous. You heard it. If it's between me and Larry King, if Larry King's still alive, she'll talk to me first. Hopefully. So next week, we're going to have another interview because I think that formula works a little better. You hear a little insight on the movie, then the review. And this is by far the most starstruck one yet. I interviewed William Sadler, famous for being the bad guy in Die Hard 2 and Hard to Kill. Then he played Death in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Then Shawshank, Green Mile, and so much more. And he has some amazing behind-the-scenes stories, especially from Bogus Journey, because that's what we're going to cover. And he has some cool ones from Die Hard 2 and Hard to Kill. So definitely want to check this one out. You don't want to miss it. So subscribe, write a review, rate us 5 stars, tell your friends. Good night.